Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to Vince McMahon feels the walls closing in as lawsuit heats up. Now, I'm someone who watched a ton of wrestling as a youngster, tons and tons of it, going back to the WCW days, and then they got acquired by the WWF, as the WWE was called back in the day. And then the WWF had to rebrand to the WWE because they got involved in that, lawsuit with the World Wildlife Fund. I've been following wrestling for a long time, and Vince McMahon is someone who is synonymous with wrestling. You just cannot be a wrestling fan and not be aware of who Vince McMahon is. He turned the WWE into like the juggernaut it is today. Like in terms of storylines and character development, he's probably the best ever, potentially. But, we all saw him quickly resign last year as the chairman and CEO of the WWE. I think he put Triple H in there. And people always thought, why so suddenly? Obviously he's no spring chicken. I think he's in his 70s, but the way it happened was so sudden. And then it quickly came out that he was, there was the allegations of a sexual nature from former employees and things like that. And then the bombshell last week of the things that he would get up to, allegedly, of course, allegedly. The one where, I don't want to say it, but you've heard the one where he, took a number 2 on somebody's head. It's just disgusting stuff. It really is. And yeah, it looks like he could be in serious trouble here. So let's find out what's going on.
Billion dollar pro wrestling empire is about to be shaken to its foundations by a teenage boy scandal, the Post has learned. All right, here's part of the story then. And Mr. McMahon, sir, you are the boss. You are what we would call in my neighborhood when we were growing up a successful big shot. This is some operation you have. Over $1 billion in annual revenue. You have, throughout the 80s, taken this thing that so many people snicker at. You have filled the Pontiac Superdome with the help of Hulk Hogan and an occasional theatrical idea that included Cyndi Lauper and the marriage of kind of pop music with this through the roof. Through the roof. The PGA should pray for these kinds of revenue. And now, here you are being accused, Mr. McMahon, of presiding over an organization that looked the other way while these sex harassment charges were being, sex harassment activity was taking place. Sir, you wanted to say.
We've never looked the other way.
It was not long ago Vince McMahon was in hot water for allegedly covering up another scandal.
There's nothing in my past and nothing in my future that would indicate that in any way I'm associated with the word cowardice.
Former WWE employee Janelle Grant accuses McMahon of sexual assault and trafficking.
Up until now, you've been
trafficking.
denying that not only this is taking place,
Him, Epstein.
and you're saying that you knew nothing of it. And I just find that really difficult to believe.
Well, there's no reason. How do you find it difficult to believe that I knew nothing of it? Why would I condone this kind of activity and risk this alleged kind of revenue?
Because, Vince, because you are the king of an empire and you have eyes and ears everywhere. And it is so common, at least the topic of conversation for 3 to 5 minutes every night in the dressing room, because a lot of the guys, they have to put up with it and they hate it because if they say anything, they're out of a job.
Former wrestler Barry Orton, who was sexually abused by men within the WWE
Barry Orton, any relationship to Randy?
Network, confronted McMahon to his face on the Phil Donahue Show.
And in any way does pro wrestling contribute to the creation of monsters?
Absolutely not.
Of course it does. To get in that kind of shape, you are running all kinds of steroids, man. And, these things like tren, absolutely mess with your brain. 100%, 100%.
Everyone that's in this organization, to my knowledge, is well-adjusted, family people. No, they go to work like everybody else.
In the lawsuit, Janelle Grant accuses McMahon of sharing sexually explicit photographs and videos.
Jesus, is that what he looks like now? He's had surgery done, right? I know he's older, but this doesn't seem normal.
Of her with the wrestlers and recruiting men to have a threesome at the WWE headquarters, even during working hours, while referring to her as his porn star.
Do you believe that sexual harassment exists in your workplace?
I believe that there's a possibility of sexual harassment existing everywhere. I want to get to the bottom of it.
Would you therefore believe that because of all these allegations coming forward and more corroborating evidence proving that there's no doubt sexual harassment is running rampant in the World Wrestling Federation, that you are definitely going to come public and do something about it?
Why wouldn't I? If in fact that is the case, why wouldn't I do something about it?
The lawsuit claims McMahon texted her, "I'm the only one who owns you and controls who I want to blank you."
We have to move on, and we have to progress in what we do. And we can't hold back. We can't keep things the way that they used to be for anybody.
McMahon recruited individuals to have sexual relations with Miss Grant and or with the two of them, the lawsuit read, and expected and directed Miss Grant to engage in sexual...
The same thing that P. Diddy did with Cassie. It's the same thing. Why? Why is it always this kind of weird shit, you know? Why is it always this kind of stuff? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
At the WWE headquarters, even during working hours. The suit included screenshots of
P. Diddy
vulgar text that
allegedly
McMahon
did with
allegedly
Cassie,
sent to Grant,
allegedly.
becoming more graphic, dark, and sadistic.
It appears now McMahon's reign is over.
Vince McMahon, the infamous founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, has resigned as executive chairman of its parent company. The move came a day after McMahon was accused of sexual assault and sex trafficking in a lawsuit. A former WWE employee, Janelle Grant, claims she was physically and emotionally abused by McMahon. He's denied the allegations and says he's stepping down out of respect for the WWE universe.
Though this very idea has been discussed for decades now. Still, in light of a new lawsuit, by all intents and purposes, McMahon should be done with the WWE.
She's been devastated, dehumanized, discarded, and she is really a destroyed person physically and mentally.
Janelle Grant bravely came forward with serious allegations against McMahon and the WWE. She accused him of SA and sex trafficking. The organization, along with corporate officers in the ranks, were mentioned in the suit. McMahon called it a vindictive distortion of the truth. From the time he took over to present day, there had been a bevy of allegations against him. As we discussed last week,
there's no smoke without fire. I'm sorry. There's no smoke without fire. If they're constantly coming out, these allegations, at least one of them has got to be true, or there has to be some truth to it, right?
Rita Chatterton claimed he R-worded her. There were claims of abuse from Pat Patterson, the former head of wrestling operations, Terry Garvin, and Mel Phillips, using a casting couch with male wrestlers and others in the organization. Phillips was accused of grooming young boys. In 2006, McMahon was said to have essayed a tanning salon employee in Boca Raton, Florida. The headlines in 2022 circulated because of Grant, who was then nameless, as part of a secret $3 million settlement. It was said to have been an affair, not what we just learned. This was June 15th of 2022 when this news broke. Then, more payments. And just 1 month later, the Wall Street Journal would report McMahon agreed to pay $12 million plus to suppress allegations of sexual misconduct and infidelity, an amount far larger than previously known. The details were shocking and gross. McMahon...
Because if you're a man like Vince McMahon, right, you're a billionaire or whatever, you're very wealthy, do you need to, like, assault people? You know, like, are you telling me you can't just pay? Like, if you can't attract, you know, a partner the normal way, can't you just offer to pay and have a normal consensual encounter? Like, why do you need to do illegal stuff? I don't understand it. You've got the means, you've got the money. I just don't get it.
Allegedly coerced a female employee into giving oral, or else they'd be demoted. He also, per this report, sent unsolicited nude photos, harassed her on the job, and much more. Initially, McMahon made that $1 million payment, but he stopped. A rather odd revelation in this story, as reported by the Wall Street Journal, involves a star in the WWE and UFC, and that is allegedly Brock Lesnar. McMahon wanted to re-sign Lesnar and offered up Grant as a sexual favor for inking the deal. Lesnar reportedly liked what he saw. Now, after all this broke, WWE President Nick Khan updated the staff, telling them McMahon would no longer have a role with TKO Group Holdings or WWE per a memo sent to Business Insider. But here's the thing. UFC Hall of Famer and ex-WWE wrestler Ronda Rousey said she's not buying it on Twitter/X. Bruce Pritchard is basically Vince's avatar. If he's still around, Vince still has a hand in the business. Vince was still running things through Bruce when he was, quote-unquote, gone before.
This is super interesting. This was recently. Is Ronda not still on the roster for WWE, or is she retired? I mean, because Vince McMahon, like, Triple H is married to Stephanie McMahon, right? Vince's daughter. So you're talking bad against the boss here.
On the Post, Pritchard, who is 60, is currently the executive director of Raw and SmackDown and plays a major role in WWE's on-screen creative, which has been headed by McMahon's son-in-law, Triple H, since the billionaire began his, quote-unquote retirement in June of 2022. Pritchard has been involved in pro wrestling since the 80s and spent multiple stints by Vince's side within the WWE, the latest beginning in 2019. In addition, they would write, and this is fairly important, Pritchard was initially named interim head of talent relations for WWE, a job that is now part of Triple H's duties. And the rumors at the time, along with a report by the Wrestling Observer, was that the move was made so McMahon still had a say in decisions during his first hiatus from the company. He was replacing John Laurinaitis, who was ousted after his involvement in the hush money and sexual abuse allegations against Vince came to light. From eWrestling News, the belief within Endeavor is that WWE could sweep out anyone who is close to Vince or seen as a confidant to have a fresh start in the company. Whether or not Pritchard is ex, well, that remains to be seen. Embarrassingly, Triple H, a.k.a. Paul Levesque, did not inspire much confidence in the executive suite of the company caring at all about the lawsuit. Triple H is married to Vince's daughter, Stephanie. He is a WWE executive. He claimed to have not read the suit accusing his father-in-law.
Yeah, I mean, I think a seasoned corporate executive would not, I mean, they would definitely read it. Come on. This is an allegation of huge significance, like, not only for the company that you're employed by, but the family that you're in. Of course you would read the lawsuit. Oh.
Sex trafficking, wrote Defector. We all found out in real time when you did, Triple H said, and that's the truth. I'll go back to what I said. This is an amazing week for us, and at this point, I don't even want to get bogged down with the negatives of it. I just want to focus on the positives and where we're going. I feel like we are in the middle of something that we might not be able to put our finger on now, but 5-10 years from now, we're going to be saying, wow, what a time that was. I want to focus on that. Here's why this is a crock. The idea that WWE just found out about all this is absurd. This has been in the news before. The Wall Street Journal reported in June of 2022 that the board of WWE, then an independent public company, was investigating the secret $3 million settlement to a paralegal with whom McMahon had a sexual relationship. That was Janelle Grant. Her lawsuit alleged the WWE breached the NDA by leaking her name not long after the Journal report. Wrestling blogger Brad Shepard did post her name last year. A month later, the Journal reported $12 million in payments to 4 different women who accused McMahon of sexual misconduct. McMahon was exiled from WWE that month, but he used his voting power to force his way back onto the board a little more than a year ago. The stories kept coming out. Last July, WWE revealed that McMahon was subpoenaed and served with a search warrant in its quarterly report.
Very, very interesting. It's going to be, like, to see how this develops. I suspect, Vince will probably settle out of court if he can. Just like, P. Diddy did. Cassie brought her lawsuit to court. And I think within 24 hours, I think P. Diddy settled for like 30 or 40 million. That is probably what will happen here. Unless, I guess, the state decides to pursue the case. Do I believe that, you know, that there's truth to this? Probably, honestly, yeah. There's just so many accusations here. Like, and if he was completely innocent of it, why would, unless he was planning to retire, because he retired once. I mean, he didn't retire. He was kind of removed, but then he used his voting power to get back on the board. And then he retired again last year. If you were innocent of it, would you retire, or would you like fight on? And unless your daughter and your son-in-law were like, you know, you have to separate yourself from the company, it's going to affect revenue, etc. But yeah, I suspect he's going to settle out of court if he can. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.